Man the battle stations. Soldier Blade rocks the screen in the sequel to the hit Superstar Soldier. Prepare for high-tech shooting adventure with more exciting stages, deadlier enemies, more sophisticated weapons, and more powerful power-ups.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Ultimate Turbografx 16 review here on Player One Start. In this video, we're actually continuing to take a look at the shooter games that were released for the Turbografx 16. Part of the reason why we split this off into two parts is because even though there's not a ton of games that were released for the Turbografx is really known for its shooter game library. So I wanted to make sure that we reviewed an ample amount of these games so that you can actually see what games were popular and what games actually take advantage of what the system can do. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and showcase the rest of the games that I plan on reviewing, and we even have a flight simulator game to review as well. So let's go ahead and take a look. Ordyne was released by Namco and NEC for the Turbografx, and I have to say that this is another enjoyable shooter on this console as well. It has the style of graphics that could be described as a cute-em-up, but it's not as severe as you would expect for games like Fantasy Zone or anything like that. To me, I would say the graphics just appear cartoony. In this game, you control little kids flying miniature planes and shooting at large colorful objects. Your plane comes equipped with both missiles and bomb weapons. Upon destroying a series of identical objects, bundles of balloons appear carrying crystals, which can be used to upgrade weapons. I will say this game seems to be more aimed at novice players or more the casual crowd, as this game is a bit easier than some of the other shooters on this system. It does get challenging as the levels go on, as you would expect, but overall I would not say that the challenge is the impressive feat of this game. Again, I see reviews out there that say that this would be around a 7 out of 10 title, but I would be more inclined to give it about an 8 out of 10. The game plays well, and its audio and video are both appealing. Due to the child and cartoony themes in this game, I would say that it's most likely going to be enjoyed better by a younger crowd. Psychosis, known as Paranoia in Japan, is a side-scrolling shooter game for the Turbografx 16. It was released in 1990 by Naxtsoft, which also released the games Alien Crush and Devil's Crush. When it was released, it was praised for its colorful graphics and original backstory, which is probably the most unique feature of this game. In this game, the player's mind has been taken over by an evil power, or at least that's what they're led to think. This force plans to make their mind its own, but the player's character won't give up without a fight. The player must use their mind to create a vehicle that will travel through their conscious and subconscious to win back their sanity. When the player obtains a power-up, 2 indestructible satellites will appear that can be positioned above, below, behind, or even in front of the ship using the 1 button on the controller. There are different types of power-ups that will give you different types of abilities throughout the game. Overall, this game consists of 5 stages called causes, with a boss at the end of each. You start with 3 lives at the beginning, but an extra ship will be awarded every 50,000 points. I have to say, when doing research for this console, this is not a shooter that showed up very often, and hence I think it's kind of a hidden gem for this system. This game does play well, and it has a graphical style and unique story that I think separates it from the bunch. I was able to get through the first stage without too much difficulty, but that changed very quickly starting with the second stage. This game is again one of the cheaper titles to collect for the system, so because of that, and the fact that this is a pretty decent title for the price you're getting for this console, I would definitely recommend a pickup. Raiden is a vertically scrolling shooter game that consists of 8 stages of increasing difficulty. In each stage, the player maneuvers the Flying Thunder craft, engaging various enemies and avoiding their attacks. This game is seen as a faithful port of the arcade game, with one glaring omission. There is no 2-player cooperative mode on the Turbografx. For those aware of this game series, you may notice that is actually a tremendous disadvantage to playing this game, as Raiden is very hard, and having only 1 player increases that difficulty even further. A lot of reviewers have mentioned that this is the main fault of this game, and have given it low scores such as 5 or 6 out of 10. And I would tend to agree with those reviews. Outside of the lack of 2-player mode, I think that this game is an okay shooter, but I would recommend some of its sequels over playing the original. That said, I would only recommend this to those that are hardcore fans of shoot-'em-ups, or hardcore fans of the series Raiden. Superstar Soldier is a scrolling shooter video game that was originally published by Hudson Soft for the PC Engine in 1990, making its way to the Turbografx 16 in 1991. It is the sequel to Star Soldier, which was on the NES, and part of a vertical scrolling shooter series by Hudson Soft. As with many other shooters of the time, this game was very popular in Japan, but it received less attention from the rest of the world. Living up to the reputation of shoot-'em-ups, this game is on the more difficult side. Again, as with other shooters, your goal is just to make it through each stage alive. Fallen enemies leave power-ups by which you can upgrade your weapon system. You can pick up multiple shot, ring laser, spread fire, and swing fire. There are times when one weapon will be useful to use over another. If you continue collecting power-ups of the same type, you can build up your weapon's power, and even acquire a shield around your ship, allowing you to absorb a few hits. The most frustrating part of this game for me is the fact that no matter where you're at in the level, when you lose a life, you have to tackle the level again from the very beginning. Overall, I feel that this game is very impressive, especially if it's great arcade quality visuals, accompanied with good music and sound. I've seen reviews of this game give it about a 7 out of 10, and I would say that is about accurate. But for those of you brave enough to get this game, be prepared to rage quit a few times, and make sure you don't throw that controller against the TV like I wanted to. Soldier Blade is a vertically scrolling shooter video game developed and published by Hudson Soft for the Turbografx 16. It was released in 1992. In this game, the player controls the title game's ship, and is tasked with completing each of the game's 7 stages in order to wipe out the Zeograd army, an alien race bent on conquering Earth. But what else is new for the shooter genre? This game is actually the 4th game in the Star Soldier series. The 3rd game was exclusive to the PC Engine in Japan. I do enjoy this game, but I don't feel it's on par with the game that I played before it. Part of that can be attributed to the very hectic production cycle that this game had to undertake. The game was developed in about 6 months, and therefore a lot of planned content for this game, and some of the fine tweaking that they would usually do once a game is completed, was not done on this title. Because of that, reviewers of the time were not very kind to this game, but I still feel that this game does fulfill what you would want out of this genre, but it doesn't add anything new to the formula. And because this game is a lot more expensive to collect than Super Star Soldier on this console, as it was released later in the console's life cycle and hence is a bit more rare, I would recommend collecting that title over this one. Space Harrier has been covered a couple of times on the channel. I have covered this in my Sega Master System review and in the Sega Genesis review, both on the Genesis itself and on the 32X. But if you haven't seen those, to sum up, Space Harrier is a 3D forward shooter, initially developed by Sega for the arcades, but this version has been adopted from the arcade version and licensed to NEC. And I gotta be honest, this system is pulling through a lot better than I thought it would. Especially when you keep in mind that this console has an 8-bit CPU and there are a lot of objects on the screen that need to be refreshed in and out as it creates this false 3D effect. This system also does a good job of porting the sound effects and music, and I did find myself getting lost in this game yet again, as I am a fan of it. There are obvious sacrifices due to the fact that the arcade version was on much more advanced hardware, but I would still say this is a solid title for your Turbografx 16, especially if you're a fan of this type of game. Hyperdyne Sidearms was originally released as a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up arcade game developed by Capcom in 1986. In this game, the player takes control of a flying mecha suit who must battle an alien army. Sidearms uses a 2-directional attacking system similar to Capcom's previous shoot-'em-up, Section Z. If you guessed that the plot of this game involves an alien empire that is invading Earth, you would be correct. But in all honesty, I found this to be one of the more enjoyable shooters on this console. Yes, it offers a lot of features that are available in other shooters, but the difference here being that you can shoot in 2 directions based on which way your character is facing. The soundtrack is well done and sometimes blends into the background, as what I believe all a good soundtrack should do. The only thing I think can hold this back just a little bit is the fact that the graphics do look a little bit generic, but to me that is a minor criticism. The game controls well, it does have that difficulty that you would expect out of one of these shooters, and it's one of those gameplay styles that'll keep you coming back for more. Sinistron, originally released as Violent Soldier in Japan, is a horizontally side-scrolling shooter. It was released in 1990 for the Turbografx 16, and the story kind of depends on which port of the game you are playing, the PC Engine version or the Turbografx 16 version. In the PC Engine version, Earth astronomers discover that there are things flying out of a supernova that are trying to attack Earth. The Violent Soldiers are sent to the source of the supernova, where they find the ruins of an advanced civilization and a cybernetic, iron-spewing alien monster. However, in this version, it just says a massive planet-devouring cybernetic entity named Sinistron approaches the solar system. And after it devours the planet of Pluto, I guess it never gets a break, does it? First it gets its planet status removed, and then it gets devoured by an alien entity. Oh well. A fleet of space fighters is then sent to destroy it, but only one survives, which is you, the player. The game consists of 6 stages, which has quickly increasing difficulty, with the last 2 stages taking place inside of the Sinistron creature itself. The gameplay consists of the traditional firing at all objects on the screen and avoiding enemy fire. However, one of the unique features to this game is the fact that the spacecraft comes with a set of jaws that are adjustable. Opening the set of jaws on the ship increases the player's spread of their weapon, but exposes the vulnerable cockpit. And of course, the more upgrades you collect, the more effective and powerful your weapon becomes. This game definitely gives off some R-Type vibes for me. It does play very well, and its design and concept are solid. However, I would say that I prefer R-Type more to this game, so I would rate it at about an 8 out of 10 overall, definitely being a worthy pickup, but not as nostalgic to me as something like R-Type would be. And before we wrap up shooters, one last game I'm going to take a look at is actually a flight simulator. Falcon is a combat flight simulator video game that had its first official entry as F-16 Fighting Falcon. This game was originally developed for the PC and Macintosh systems in 1987. This game, developed by Turbo Technologies, was released in 1992, and it was published by Spectrum Holobyte. But as you can tell from the gameplay footage you're seeing here, this game was not well received when it was released. It definitely has a very slow and choppy frame rate. And when I play it, I think I detect a bit of an input lag, but that could be because of the choppy frame rate of this game. And to me, it renders it almost unplayable. Again, that is just my experience. There are other reviewers that have been far more kind to this game, giving it around somewhere between a 4 out of 10 and a 7 out of 10. But I think that just shows how divisive this title actually is, and that mostly depends on the player's preference. But if you are a fan of flight sims from this era, I would recommend picking this game up on a different system and not the Turbografx 16, as it is most often cited as one of the weaker versions of this game. So there you have it. That is a look at the shooter games that were available for the Turbografx 16. A couple of points I do want to reiterate before we move forward. There are some games that were released on Turbografx CD that I have not gotten to yet. The reason why I've excluded those from this review is again because I plan to split those off into their own review. So stay tuned for that coming out soon, and I will be revisiting some more of these games from the shooter genre as I go through the Turbografx CD game library. But again, that will wrap things up for this video. Remember, if you like what you see, please click that like button below. Also, leave a comment. Let me know what you liked about today's video. Let me know if you have any experience with the games that I showcased today, or the Turbografx 16 as a whole. Again, I want to thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned because I have more Ultimate Turbografx 16 review coming, and I will see you all in the next one. If you like this video and you'd like to help out with future projects on this channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Also, if you enjoy the content of this channel, please remember to click on this subscribe button. Again, I want to thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.